So I was reading a little bit here recently, and I know it is canon.
Whoa, you can't read.
I know
Yeah.
it is. Well, it doesn't count
so
if it's an
proud of
internet.
you.
If it's
You're
an
getting
internet
better.
article on the internet.
Wait, is it too early to say that gives me a lot of discord?
There's a link in the description.
We'll do the rest later.
All right, they can wait
Okay.
for it. But
Yeah.
honestly, I was reading a little clicky news bit because the election year is this year, and there's a lot of insane back and forth between both sides of the aisle over who is the better option, who's not the better option.
A lot of discord, one might say.
Yeah, literally, it's
for
causing a
two.
lot of discord. But and this has been an argument that I've heard ever since I was a child, and the extreme nature of this argument. I feel like it's worth talking about just a little bit on here. I know we don't talk about politics, but we talk.
Are you talking about Sydney Sweeney and her boobs?
No, that's something else.
Okay.
I was literally sitting here this morning. I'm like, Tiny's going to bring up Sydney Sweeney today.
Look,
and I don't know why I thought
just
of that.
discovered this today, and I was like, I don't understand how supposedly her boobs are destroying wokeness. They're just titties. I mean, titties are good.
Titties are great.
Everyone loves them. Period.
Yeah, that's not at all what I was talking about.
Okay, I didn't know if that's where he was going.
No, by any stretch of the imagination, that was not where I was going. But that does kind of fit what I was going to say. What would the founding fathers think?
Oh,
Sydney
dear
Sweeney's
God,
boobs?
what have you done?
I mean, honestly, that's something that people have argued in like political ways for a long time. Like, what would the founding fathers think? Like, what would the founding fathers think about this? That would be a shame. They'd feel so ashamed. What would the founding fathers think? Number one, we're sitting in a room recording on a microphone on a digital piece of equipment with electric light bulbs above our heads.
With supercomputers sitting beside us that we use to scroll Facebook with.
And small metal boxes that we inhaled giant clouds from.
So I think, long story short, I think that they would freak out. I think they would absolutely freak out. It doesn't matter what the conversation would be. They would get here, and the smallest thing would cause them to just panic and shut down. Okay, keep in mind, people were also still hung in those days for being witches.
Dude, they would just freak out about women wearing pants.
So I guess
It wouldn't take much.
I guess Sydney Sweeney's boobs do fit into this because she would be probably hung for being too much of a harlot.
Well, I don't
and bewitching people.
Well, see, like prostitution and stuff was totally legal back then.
She definitely wouldn't be looked upon
Militaries had
fondly.
camp followers, so
That's
I
true.
really don't think she would have much of an issue.
I think that the ankles being exposed along with the cleavage might be enough to cause them to have like locker up syndrome. Get her off the streets.
Yeah.
We have to save the children. We have to save the kids from her witchcraft.
Her witchcraft of boobies.
I mean, just sitting here with a phone, and not even the phone itself, because the complexities of what all's on, like your iPhone or your Android or whatever you've got in your, your supercomputer for your
I
hand.
have an adult phone, so mine's an Android.
Yeah, sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Whose has been broken more on the pod?
Mine's not broken.
It was just
They're
tower
working on a
interference.
cell tower. Supposedly doing an upgrade that's taking years.
So let me think here. So I think that just the phone itself wouldn't even be an issue for them. I think that they wouldn't even understand it to the point that comprehension would be, they've got a small window in their hand. I think that would be the funniest thing would be just the flashlight function on the back of the cell phone,
Right.
to be able to just spark a ray of light towards their face, and then they would have nothing but they would freak out.
Right.
I mean, and they wouldn't probably say that we were witches or warlocks or some kind of ordeal.
Yeah.
To be able to have this kind of power. Have you ever seen the anime called In Another World with My Smartphone?
I have not.
It'd probably be very similar to that, this medieval setting, to where, because I mean, colonial times are just past like medieval technology.
Yeah, that was like, it was even before pre-industrial revolution, pre-Wild West.
It was just before technology was enough to call it technology. They had technological advances, but it wasn't quite technology yet.
Right. They're still writing with quills.
So we would have something like this, and we would have to explain it to them like, no, it's a portal. What do you mean a portal? And then you take the picture on your phone and then show them themselves.
Even
on your
that,
phone.
because they didn't have photography back then. The photography didn't come around until like the mid to late 1800s. So like just being able to take a picture of them and then show them like, look, this is you. That would wow them out.
Burn him at the stake. He stole my soul and put it on a window in his
He
hand.
stole my visage.
Hi, everyone. I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer.
I'm Otto. It's kind of early for me. Cogdale.
And I'm not Dane Holland. I'm Tiny, and we are Nerded Through the Grapevine. We say nerdy stuff, okay? Thanks, bye.
Right.
Welcome to Nerd It to the Grapevine, the podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture, except there's only three of us today because Dane is still in the process of moving and getting everything established so he can be a part of this again.
I said that perfectly.
You did exactly the way I said it. There was no difference whatsoever. I just had to do another take just for editing purposes.
Posterity.
Just in case
you know.
my audio got corrupted or something.
Yeah, corrupted.
I understand.
Corrupted audio. So getting into the from our opening there, like what the founding fathers would think and how they would probably classify things as like witches and warlocks. Do you think that it'd be a good idea to kind of describe a little bit to our listeners, your Dungeons and Dragons classes?
The witches and warlocks of the Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Wait, are people going to think we're devil worshippers because, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had the satanic panic, like D&D's of the devil.
There are children...
Kids are going to kill their parents because they're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
There are children with children at this point from that age that would totally disagree with the idea of all the satanic stuff that goes along with the Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, look, I have partaken in the Dungeons and Dragons. I haven't seen the devil once. I don't know if I'm playing it right or playing it very wrong.
Right. I have also partaken in the Dungeons and Dragons, and I have had my aunt full on tell me with full seriousness that, oh, that's of the devil. And I'm like, it's me and four friends sitting in a room playing make pretend. I promise you, there's nothing sinful going on.
Maybe she's afraid of math rocks.
Maybe.
I think that it might be that gossip is okay whenever you're gathered in groups, but not make-believe.
It's only okay in the sanctity of getting your hair done.
So we just need to play D&D in a hair salon.
No, we're not doing gossip. I'm just saying for like the old ladies.
Yeah, they're okay with
elderly ladies.
They're okay with gossip, but not with tin-like.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have, for those uninitiated into the Dragons and Dungeons world, I have a list of the X amount of classes that we have in D&D, and I'll go ahead and read y'all off with that little description. So first off, we have a barbarian, a fierce warrior who can enter a battle rage. So think like stereotypical Viking berserker, like no armor, big man running in with like a hammer, axe, great sword.
So we're talking more like the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, so it'd be more of that like blind rage, like I'm gonna smash things.
Yeah, I mean the Hulk is definitely barbarian because he gets mad. He's like, I would like to rage, please. Mm-hmm. And then it's just Hulk smash like all over your city. Not to be confused with Hulkamania.
Coming to your town.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that also, with the barbarians, they can get kind of a bad rep for having just dumb brain.
Oh, yes.
And I do feel like that is basically how you roll your stats. But I don't feel like the Hulk 100% would fit like dumb brain barbarian because of the the later iterations of like Professor Hulk and all of that other stuff as well. That one specifically wouldn't fit as much.
Well,
he would be like
there's also the Beast in X-Men.
That is true.
Because he's also I would classify him as a barbarian.
Yeah.
But he's the smart kind. A lot of people just get this idea of a stereotype for specific classes in D&D, and they just automatically assume that barbarian's dumb and can't read, and da-da-da, and
Oh,
they don't
we
really
talked like this.
understand.
Grug think rock do hard.
Right, and they also don't really understand what the numbers mean. Just because, you might have rolled a 10 on your intelligence doesn't mean you're illiterate. That just means you're just an average dude. You're not better, you're not worse. And a negative means, well, he's maybe not as good at this. You could even have a -5 stat to your intelligence and be able to read, but you can. That's the wonderful thing about D&D. You can give a particular backstory to your particular character that can have reasons why they can do or cannot do certain things, but you're supposed to take your stats into account. But they're not a hard and fast truth to a specific idea of like barbarian. He's dumb and illiterate.
Yeah, I think that the Hulk would be a 50-50 split between
Oh, my bad.
the barbarian is like a 50-50 split whenever it comes to the idea of the Hulk, though, because he's more like an artificer than barbarian.
I'd say he was a
Kinda.
multi-class.
Well, there is a subclass in artificer that is it's called the armorer, and so kinda sorta, but like Otto was about to say, multi-class is, I think, could be more accurate. Could be multi-class barbarian with artificer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just because, and we could talk about like more true artificers right after this if you'd like to, but like the artificer, you're going to be looking into the idea of more technology and making things work. Basically, aren't they like masters of artifacts?
Not artifacts per se. Think kind of like mad scientist almost. It also depends on your subclass, but that's a little too in depth. Think science guy. Like tinkerer, messes with things, manipulates things, build things.
So Alfred is a artificer.
Yeah, Alfred would be an artificer.
Yeah. So actually, I have the thing for artificer pulled up. Artificer, master of inventions, artifacts, uses in. Oh, that's a big word for this early. Use ingenuinely in magic to unlock extraordinary capabilities in objects.
So Iron Man.
I was thinking also Batman, specifically the techie versions of Batman. So like from
Batman
the Batman
Beyond?
Yes, like that where he's more of a like I'm going to use this gadget that I built to help me in this fight rather than I'm just going to brute force punch my way through things.
Because later on, like in Batman Beyond, you didn't have Alfred to be the guy that's behind the scenes doing all the stuff and helping Bruce out with all of the the tech and everything else. You didn't have a Lucius Fox style character in the Batman Beyond. You had Batman, Bruce Wayne, being the creator of all these inventions and everything that he's using. So, I mean, I guess that would be kind of.
I mean, I would agree with it. I want to hit you with something that's a little outside the norm of
of
this. Like we're talking superheroes, comparing them to different D&D classes. I'm gonna hit you up with a little bit of classic literature. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll, worked with potions. He took potion, become Mr. Hyde, artificer.
Yeah. I can see that.
Fight me on that.
I mean, I don't find any reason to
I'm
fight
at
you.
Vape sack number 2. Come and fight me on that.
Redux.
I don't think that anybody would fight you on a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. Is that really a hill anybody's willing to die on?
I mean, I am.
Okay.
I stated it.
you and you alone are standing on that hill, Tiny.
Good. I'm king of the hill.
Hi,
Damn
Hank.
it, Bobby.
Hi, Hank. I think that, Artificer can describe a lot of different heroes, though, that have their suit techie capabilities. Iron Man for sure. Everything that he creates, but that's his superpower is his brain. So that's kind of like the idea of the Artificer. Like their superpower is their ingenuity and their brain on how they're going to be able to create stuff.
Yeah, it relies more on their like, I'm going to use the technology to give myself a mechanical advantage over the situation.
Yeah.
So the next class I have is Bard.
Hold on.
Oh.
Just pause for just a second. I'm gonna backpedal you just a little bit.
Okay.
It's not always a mechanical advantage. It's sometimes an arcane advantage.
Right. Well, I say mechanical as in like the sense of the D&D world. It's not like I'm just going to swing my sword harder than you. It's I'm going to make a grenade.
Oh, you're talking about like using a lever, kind kind of mechanical advantage.
Yeah, more of like the physics mechanical advantage.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like I'm not gonna like. Yeah, you can swing your sword really good, but I just made a gun, so I win the fight.
I just made a sword that can shoot a bullet and
Right.
fit in my pocket.
So
Yeah. It's like the gun blades off of all the Final Fantasies that everybody likes. Gun blades. Since a blade's not good enough and a gun's not good enough, you got both at the same time.
it's just
I mean, how would it not work?
Glorified musket with a bayonet.
they've made actual gun blades, but it's just as with most things, it's the worst of both things. You either have a gun that is very unbalanced to hold and not very accurate and weird to use, and then you have a sword that you're having to hold on weird because it's also a Frenching gun.
I mean, I've heard it said, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Exactly.
Ron Swanson said
You're
that.
welcome for the bleeps, if there's bleeps.
I don't think there's any bleeps on
I don't know if we bleep ass or not.
We don't bleep ass. We don't French ass up in
Oh,
this
God.
room.
No, Lord.
Speak for yourself.
So the next one's Bard.
The Bard, yes. An inspired magician whose power echoes the music of creation. And this is another one that's like the baby answer of it. It's also a lot of times they don't always use music. A lot of time it is even charisma of like, I can talk my way in and out
Or
of
as
this
the kids
situation.
say, got the Riz.
Right.
Be the Rizzler.
Right.
The Riz Master. The Rizzatron. The
Ritz crackers with cheese.
The Riz
Riz Carlton?
Minis.
Putting on the Riz.
Putting on the Riz.
Putting on the Riz.
Putting on the Riz. So I have a bunch of superheroes that just live rent free inside of my head.
Deadpool.
And I can't think of somebody that's going to... I mean, maybe Deadpool with the Bard?
Deadpool totally could be a bard because the bards oftentimes, like in conflict, will just use words against the enemy, like Tasha's hideous laughter, for instance.
Spider-Man may be a bard because he's fast, quippy on his feet. Maybe.
I don't know.
It's kind of hard.
I have a hard time seeing Spider-Man. But then again, I'm not hugely deep in Spider-Man, so I honestly just am not sure.
Right.
I just remember the cartoon as a kid.
Now, there's got to be a mainstream superhero that uses sound as their weapon.
Well, Black Canary
Yeah.
uses it, but it's more of like a screech. But
yeah.
she'd
That could almost count as a bard because she is using music as the weapon.
be a bard.
And she does use her voice to get her out of conflicts.
Well,
It'd be a multi-class bard and monk because she's also punchy.
she's very punchy.
Well, hold on. You're narrowing the scope of what a bard is. A bard is basically a jack of all trades. A bard is a Swiss Army knife. You got a bottle of wine? Well, there's a corkscrew on the back of this dude, and I can just pull it right out of there.
Yeah.
So a bard can be punchy. A bard can be big, French off sword guy. Or it could just be like, I'm just going to hit you with some words.
or it could be Chris Pine's character from D&D, to where they don't really do any barding, but they do have a lute.
Hey, he look, I will say that Luke was kind of cool, man. They reinforced it, and he used it as a bludgeoning weapon.
I mean-
very cool mechanic.
Because there's a D&D podcast I listen to, Dungeons and Daddies, not a D&D or not a BDSM podcast.
I was about to say that sounds like a sex thing.
It's not. Well, they get into it sometimes, but either way, they have their bard on there. Glenn Close is historically he doesn't use bardic inspiration for the first 12 episodes
So
of.
he plays just like Austin.
He literally has his character stacked to where he has negatives in most of them, but he has like a plus 18 in his charisma check by the end of it. So he's just like, I'm just going to tell you this is what's going to happen. He rolls and it's like, oh, well, you got a 36, so I can't really say anything.
Bards cannot inspire themselves. Bards only inspire their party.
Right.
That is a often misunderstood mechanic that people screw up.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know how to play a bard. It was my first time ever playing a bard, and there's a whole lot to know and do while playing a bard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's any magical style character. There's so much that goes into it, and they're all very different and function very differently.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Black. He's a bard.
Yep.
He's not a superhero, though.
He's
a superhero to me. He's Poe. He's the Kung Fu Panda, the
he's-
Dragon Warrior.
I think he's like the closest thing to like the god Dionysus come back to life just to hang out with the humans that we've got.
I thought that was Bert Kreischer because he gets drunk a lot.
Yeah, I think
That's like the dark
Yeah,
version.
but he's I don't know.
Because Dionysus was known
I think Dionysus would be more for,
living in wine and pleasures of the flesh.
oh, God, I don't want to think of Bert Kreischer in any kind of scenario like that.
Oh.
I've
I've already seen too much
Great,
of that man.
now
Bert Kreischer, pleasures of the flesh. I bet it sounds kind of like this.
So the other day I was having a really good pleasure of the flesh.
I bet it sounds a lot like this. You ready?
I'm
I don't know
upset.
if you could hear that, but
Yeah,
that was a
absolutely,
couch.
absolutely. Heard
Just
the
so
couch.
anybody knows, that was a
You're-
couch.
You're on a rocking couch that makes a nice little farty, squeaky noise every time that you move in it. So
God.
that's so Bard. Yeah, Bard are hard.
Bard are hard.
Bard are hard.
So the next one that we have in our lovely line of classes is the Cleric, a priestly champion who wields divine magic in the services of a higher power.
Shazam.
Yes.
Shazam. I mean, you can consider him multiple different kinds of magic, but just based off of that description alone, he is going to be, of course, serving a greater power with what his magic is gifted to him for. The wizard Shazam grants him his powers, and he now serves the actual flow of magic as his main. I would guess I wouldn't think like his boss or like something he answers to, but it's something that he protects the overall flow of magic, and he is the champion of magic from the mortal realm. So I think that he would be a pretty good one for that.
I can see that. Because it wouldn't be Warlock, because Warlock is more like, you're indebted in service to me, and I'm going to require a firstborn every, 6 months. Whereas Cleric is more like, hey, I want to serve you, and I want to help you out kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that plus the fact that his attitude towards everything, he always tries to look for the better. And he always tries to look on the bright side of things, and he tries to see the good in every situation that he can. So I believe that would fit a lot better for that specified kind of description.
I could also think Green Lantern in a way, because you're servicing the Lantern Corps. Because some clerics, I've played clerics where he was basically in service to a monastery, and he would just go around and preach the good word of Lathander. So, the Green Lantern, I mean, he's using the Green Lantern power, and he kind of pseudo-worships he has his rituals that he does with the Lantern Corps and then back to Oa. So, I think maybe the Green Lantern could also be a pseudo-cleric.
I think so, too, because the Guardians of Oa have decided to allow Hal to have the ring, and the ring has to choose you. So once you're chosen by the ring, it's not like you're enslaved to it from the Green Lanterns. You're more or less given the option to join this giant police force in the universe.
You become a space cop.
And become a space cop. So all of your power, you're then, of course, having to answer to the Guardians of Oa, and you're having to, I guess you're having to.
All right, I got you a curveball.
Oh, Jesus.
You ready? Darth Vader.
What?
Yeah. See, he's a cleric. He serves, the dark side of the Force. He uses the magic of the Force from the dark side to, fulfill his ends.
I think
His higher power is the Force.
I think that is a pretty good one too, because the dark cleric just sounds absolutely badass.
It
for a
is
character.
incredibly fun to play.
I think it may slide more into the Warlocky territory, but I can still see where it's kind of going.
Not really.
Because it's
maybe.
the way I've always heard Warlocks is more of a it's not as much of a happy thing. It's more of a you're kind of forced to be here.
So here yet again, we're narrowing our scope when we look at it this way.
Right.
Just like with any class, you can play it good or you can play it bad. See, a warlock, you get your power from a particular patron, from a being. Okay, Darth Vader, there's no being that gives him his dark side Sith powers. That's the Force in and of itself.
Okay.
Therefore, cleric, not warlock.
I can see that. Yep. I will admit, I think I may have been narrowed my scope too far.
I mean, that's okay. It happens. I've also played a dark cleric. I played the darkest of cleric. And the best part was the party never knew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I mean, if you want to give the reverse side of things as well, Black Adam could also be considered a cleric, but not because of the same, like, good reasons as Shazam is, but for the same reason that his power comes from the same, kind of the same sourcing,
right.
as opposed to Shazam being powered by the gods of Greek mythology. Black Adam also says Shazam, but his Shazam acronym stands for a lot of the gods from Egyptian mythology.
Right.
I'm gonna touch on playing a dark cleric real quick, just because that is another one where people tend to narrow their scope. The best way to play an evil character is to play a good character. Your character is not a mean, evil asshole towards your party.
Yeah, because that's typically your chaotic evils that are just like...
Most people don't even know how to play chaotic evil properly.
Right.
They just think murder hobo. See, my cleric, he would heal the party. He would do things, that the party would see as good, but they were really only there to further his ends.
Right.
Because there was multiple times that I would, for instance, interrogate a subject, and I'm like, I'm going to take him in this other room, and I'm going to interrogate him. Well, I'd have the lawful good paladin stand guard at the door, and I'd be inside there like pulling dude's guts out.
Right.
So when I left the room, that dude was dead, and the paladin's like, "Hey, I'm going to go check on so-and-so." No, he's fine. He's okay.
No, he's good.
He's good.
Right.
Don't even worry about it.
I
let him go.
You don't even have to go check. No,
Yeah.
I already did that. I was already there. I was there. It's good.
Because I also had high charisma, so it was pretty easy to go, "Nah, man, don't even worry about it." And they'd be like, "You know what? I'm not even going to worry about it. That's not the droids I'm looking for."
Right.
And we would go French off into the night, and then homeboy would just be in there all,
Dead.
with his guts across the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the next one up is Druid, a priest of the old faith wielding the powers of nature and adopting animal forms.
That is Swamp Thing.
I was thinking Swamp Thing or Poison Ivy. They don't adopt animal forms, but also like there's different. All these, like every D&D class, there are like 16 different flavors of it. Yeah. So like
That's true.
Well, Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy are both connected to the plant world.
To the green.
To the green. So, whereas like Beast Boy is connected to the animal world through
Beast
the red.
Boy would be a druid, definitely.
He's an animal druid. The forest druids are going to be your Poison Ivy and your Swamp Thing. I just think, and it's that connecting power source. The red, the green. They're just. It speaks in the DC universe as to the same way that like the druids have wild magic.
The sorcerer, they have wild magic. Though there was a test class in Unearthed Arcana where there was a wild magic druid.
Ooh.
And they also did a wild magic barbarian, both of which they weren't balanced properly, but it was a neat concept.
Yeah, because wild magic, for the uninitiated, is every time that you cast a spell, you roll a D100, and you have to something that happens on this table happens. So it could be anything from like you go unconscious for 2 turns, or you get transported to the astral plane, or you get turned into a potted plant.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking with the green and the red, because in the early stages of getting in touch with these cosmic forces like this that connects all the plant life and all the animal life or everything like that, it's risky at first because you're transferring pretty much your consciousness into that fold. And then you're now one with everything, and that can have a very high rate of failure whenever it comes like, okay, well, I'm going to go check this out. Where am I?
No, you can lose yourself into the green.
Why am I here? What is this? Why am I here? What is this? Well, I'm a house plant. I'm a house plant now. I've just transferred my consciousness into a house plant.
I'm a ficus.
That Carly forgot to water.
Wild magic is such a weird thing because some effects are completely innocuous, like, my left hand is now blue in color. Cool. And then there's like, my spell succeeded, but super good.
I cast Fireball on the party on myself, and 8d6 fire damage goes out in a 30-foot cube.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I mean, he did do that. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. But back to the druid, I honestly can't really think of one other than the ones y'all have mentioned. 'Cause I was trying to think something that could like shapeshift into animals. My first thought was Mystique, but then I'm like, nah, all she has is shapeshift.
Nah, and Beast
And
Boy,
that could boil down to just the race changeling.
Yeah.
Beast Boy covers the shifting into all the different animals kind of
Okay,
area.
I've never heard of that one,
but
so I don't know.
he's from the Teen Titans.
He can transform into any animal that he sees.
Yep.
Well, what about? Okay. No, that wouldn't work.
What?
I was like Ben 10,
Oh yeah,
but no,
He's-
I mean,
that'd
kinda,
be-
but not really.
That'd be a little bit more artificery
Well,
flavored,
no,
I think.
he turns into different like alien beings.
with the assistance of a piece of technology.
Oh, does he?
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
He has a piece of technology on his wrist that absorbs the genetics, the genetics of all of the different aliens.
It's almost druid adjacent.
Yeah, I would say that's like artificer druid kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a artificially assisted druid.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, this one I think may be a little bit easier. Fighter, a master of martial combat, skilled with the various weapons and armor. So this is basically like
Taskmaster,
your knight.
Batman.
The Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Definitely Ninja Turtles. People that like they are skilled at pretty much every weapon. They can do most things. Like you get a little bit. Fighter is like baby's first D&D class a lot of times because you get a little taste of everything.
Yeah.
Whoa, hold on.
No, that's not to say that it's bad because I,
mean,
enjoy playing.
No,
Fighter.
Fighter is so fun. I mean, the Fighter was like my second character I've ever played. My first was Barbarian.
My first one was a dwarf fighter that was a folk hero. Yeah, because with this one, it's not just that you are a generic fighting man. It is that you have trained your entire life to be martially adept at things. So yeah, there are certain versions of Batman that are very fightery because it's all about his training, his martial skill.
But there are a lot of other characters within the Marvel and DC universe that kind of revolve around that fighter. I mean, Taskmaster was from the DC, and Taskmaster is he copies and mimics every fighting style. So if he sees somebody's fighting style, he can observe it and actually mimic it. So he's got like ultimate defense against people that are fighting him because he can see their styles of fighting that they're using, and he knows how to counterattack with other types of fighting styles that go best against it. So that would work for that. Batman for sure would be another one in that because he's real punchy.
Yeah, depending on which iteration.
I mean, and the list goes on.
The Flash, maybe?
The Flash, I wouldn't say necessarily
Well,
fighter on
maybe
he's real punchy.
If you I'm gonna give you an argument how the Flash could be a fighter. The Echo Knight subclass.
Go on.
Yes.
Okay, so the Echo Knight can project an additional, like, illusory copy of himself that he can go in between, almost like you could almost like teleport with it. So, like, if I project myself 30 feet to the other side of a cliff, okay, I got to get over this. I got to get up this cliff. So I projected myself up there. But I'm going to try to climb because I'm a man and I got to do that. But then I start to fall and I'm like, I can't catch myself. So my consciousness can now move to that one. It could be argued that because of his speed, he can appear in more than one place at a time.
I could see like an after
It's a little
image,
bit of a stretch.
like an after
Right.
image kind of deal because the Flash
Yes.
does do that with how fast he is. He
Yes.
creates after images of himself
Absolutely.
to distract people during combat.
Yes, because until you consciously make the decision to move into that point, it is just like an illusory copy of yourself.
Yeah, because he has the ability to move faster than the speed of light. So therefore he has the chance to place himself in multiple spots of your vision before your eyes have a chance to collect and realize which one is actually him.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So what is it? What kind of knight was it again?
Echo Knight
Echo Knight. Okay.
is a fighter subclass.
I mean Wonder Woman. Fighter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because she is martially adept because she is seen fighting with a sword and shield. She can wear most armors. She can fight with just hand-to-hand combat.
Well, I mean, she's also from a straight-up warrior culture.
Yep,
because
the
wasn't she an
Amazonians.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they lived their life to have a certain martial prowess.
She was the daughter of the queen of the Amazons and Zeus.
Or Hades, depending on which one you look at.
What if I just want to go with Odin because like
Well, the
Norse descent?
the Norse folks don't really come into play too much.
They always
Yeah.
come into play.
They're more Marvel.
Marvel does Norse.
because Marvel, of course, you got your.
But I'm just saying, like, if I was going to make my perfect Wonder Woman, she'd be the daughter of Odin.
Right. Also, Hawk Girl can be...
Hot?
Yes, also, it could be a fighter because
No, I was asking. Did you say hot girl? Hawk.
yeah,
like,
hot girl. Yeah,
Girl.
Hawk girl, not hot girl. Hot girl
Right.
that's a completely different. That's the Human Torch female.
Dane, if you add the hot horn when I was asking if he was saying hot, I'm not going to say I'm going to break your fingy.
Oh, it was
I'm
not
just
like
saying it would cause me a lot of discord. There's a link in the description. It's great. Get in there, talk to us. We're on there live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
And you got it in 3?
he got it in 3. There were 3 different Discords
Yep.
this episode. Only
right.
one was the real plug. That's like my wedding.
Take that.
So okay, we've gotten past fighter. And fighter could be the simplest one to describe for a majority because I mean you're getting into your Robins, all of them, your
Yeah.
your Nightwings,
Your Red Hood.
Red Hood. I mean, you've got a big long list of people that do just mainly punchies, especially when you get into the Batman villains and Batman characters that all kind of team up with him. They're all just the punchies. They've got a bunch of punchies. Bunch of punch. Hey, that's the Batman cabinet of heroes right there. The bunch of punch.
It's also my favorite breakfast cereal.
Batman bunch of punch.
Bunch of punches.
Bunch of punch by Batman.
Wake up. Feel like a fist in the face.
Wake up with a fistful of justice
their
with
tagline
Batman.
is fist your mouth real hard.
Fist your mouth real hard with bunch of punch cereal.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, next.
Next, Monk, a master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. I think maybe Superman. Because he is the punchiest of boys, and he uses his body
You're
to...
just looking at punchy, though, because Monk, there's usually also that kind of celestial connection in some way.
At the same time, too, I could see Superman as a monk because of
He
his
harnesses power from the yellow sun.
Yeah, he harnesses the power from the
Oh,
yellow
no,
sun, and
man.
also it's like his his overall approach as well could
I
be
was
more
never
monk-like.
a Superman fanboy,
Right.
so
You don't have to be a fanboy of Superman to know what he does.
Hold on. What I'm saying by that is my quiver for arguing about him is very barren.
Well, that's fine, especially if you're going to just ignore one of the most prolific superheroes to ever
Well,
exist.
see, I ignored him because he has a power for everything. With Superman, there's always a power. He's got a power where he can shoot miniature Supermen out of his hands.
That's not.
It's-
That's
in a-
Bronze
it's in
Age
a comic.
Superman. That's
Yeah,
Bronze Age Superman, and we
it's
don't
in a
talk
comic.
about Bronze Age.
Bronze
I'm
Age,
just saying.
Bronze Age and Silver Age Superman did some crazy things. That's why Silver Age Superman.
He's the invincible super guy,
Right. He
was-
and I'm not
Well,
about it.
Well, was it
I
Bronze
like
Age or
I like heroes with flaws and weaknesses other than weird shiny rocks.
Yeah, they had stuff to.
It's like, look, if his chakras are misaligned, he just don't know what to do. That's, what I'm
That's
getting
true,
at.
and the different colored rocks actually change the way that works
Yeah,
for
it's
him.
like I'm gonna throw your root chakra out of alignment because I got like a Yellowstone instead of a purple one or whatever.
Yellowstone, not a sponsor. So, I mean, with Superman too, though, it's the Boy Scout nature of him. I feel like that's very monkish of him to be more on the. Which, although monk is not typically going to be somebody that's religious or somebody that's holding to that higher standard like that, but in the case of him being a monk, that like say you think of a good monk like Aang from Avatar, like you.
I could go with that one.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you haven't watched the Avatar live action, I'd suggest watching the Avatar live action.
The
Not M. Night Shyamalan. Not M. Night Shyamalan. Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. The live action version of it.
Well, they just made a second one where they're all about the water.
What? Oh, that's
the
a
Way
different
of Water.
That's the Cameron one.
I thought they were all in the same universe.
You didn't actually.
Oh, what would your headcanon be for that connection?
You know they're not.
Well, I just want to know where Blades of Glory fit into the Blade saga. Is it after Blade Trinity?
Yes, it has to be. Because that was a peaceful time. There were no vampires.
It's true.
I think
Only ice skating.
Okay, so anyway, but yeah, Aang, Monk,
Ong.
not Ong, Aang. My dog, by the way,
she is burrowing into me.
Burrowing
I don't
into
know what
Tiny's
reason.
side for no reason.
I'm trying to
I
not
think
make
she
a
is-
bunch of mic sounds.
She is bored and she doesn't know what to do with herself,
I think
and she
she
is
dropped a
trying
toy.
to get behind Tiny on this chair. And
she absolutely did drop a toy.
she dropped a toy
Here you
back
go,
there.
Millie.
Throw it to me over here, so maybe she'll come over here see me. Oh, look, Millie, I got a thing. You should come get this thing over here.
I didn't even see it in her mouth. She's got so much
made it.
flu.
That was a really good big jump.
I was so worried. She just cleared like a 2-foot gap.
Yeah, she is
Oh,
a big.
no, she's good, boo.
She big jumped it.
Right.
She's a really good meat-based slinky.
So, yeah, Avatar. Watch it on Netflix. My wife and myself just finished the first 8-episode chunk that they put out of it. They're going to be putting out more of it. I want it to come out quicker because if you've ever watched the original Avatar, The Last Airbender Netflix, not Netflix, but Nickelodeon show, you'll notice some differences in the actual live action remake. The biggest difference is going to be the dumbing down of the story, but you have to do that for live action. You're not going to have a 20-episode first season just to cover every little snippet of conversation that they had with everybody in the animation. They are going to include what you need, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be as in-depth as the anime, but it is very good, and you will still enjoy it. And Otto, I know you are an Avatar fan.
I am.
So you need to watch it post-haste.
If I can get a hold of a Netflix, I will watch it.
Well,
The one here doesn't work.
Well, I'll let you know real quick that my Netflix is on 2 televisions, and sometimes Netflix says that's too much.
Yeah, mine was I shared one with my sister, and then whenever they did the password sharing, I can watch Netflix once a month, and now it has gone to maybe once every 3 months if I'm lucky.
Yeah, but you have to prove that it has to be a location that you frequent for you to be able to register register it as a device that you're using. So
I can't take my TV to my sister's house every week.
Yep. Okay, so we've gotten past the monk.
Right. Now we're on to the paladin, a holy warrior bound by the sacred oath. Think fighter and cleric put together. So you have all of like the martial adeptness of like big sword, big armor man, and then you also have like, but I'm doing it for a holy guy.
I mean, that could also be Darth Vader.
That is true.
I can see Darth Vader a lot more of a paladin because it's also usually paladins are considered a little bit more zealoty, a little bit more like, yeah, I'm all about God, and I'm going to make sure you're really about my God too.
That's the one way to convert somebody to Christianity that nobody really ever talks about. You just take your best friend that hasn't converted yet, and you just beat the hell out of them.
I think they tried that with the Crusades like 6 times, and some of them almost didn't fail.
Or, how about this one? Spawn.
Ooh.
Spawn is the evil paladin.
He is an evil paladin.
Like an Oathbreaker paladin.
He is an Oathbreaker, evil Oathbreaker paladin for the devil himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because he was gifted the power of the spawn to be able to have his hellspawn powers to be able to fight for the side of the devil. But he opts out of that, and he is now a crimson-caped crusader for justice, with his chains and his creepiness and his best McFarlane animation.
And the creepy clown guy.
I don't like
the Violator.
The Violator, a.k.a. John.
I kind of like the name because it fits the character.
Dude, John Leguizamo did a great job in the movie.
That
as the
movie's
Violator.
good. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, even the PlayStation 1 graphics that it has for certain parts, like, it holds up better than a lot of stuff nowadays does with their overdone, super expensive CGI because it's just like everything is CGI. period.
It's true.
Whereas opposed, they still had to use like practical effects along with their little bits of CGI that they had back in the 90s, because that's just the way things worked. Like if you didn't have bits of CGI and bits of live action, the whole thing wouldn't work.
Right.
Like when they're in hell in the original Spawn, and he's talking to, like, he's having a face-to-face confrontation with the devil himself, pretty much. He's it just looks real rough. It's almost like somebody CGI'd Millie.
Okay.
It's just off. It's like an uncanny.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just adds it adds charm.
It's like slightly better than claymation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Although claymation was way creepier than most CGI ever accomplishes, because it was there. It was actually there, like the old Freddy Krueger movies and stuff. They were whoa.
Yeah, it was. I remember watching some, and actually, speaking of claymation, the company that does Wallace and Gromit actually ran into an issue where they may be running out of clay, because they have to use a special kind of clay that is able to be moist and also not be able to dry out, but also stay moist to a certain way.
Has to maintain moisture.
Moist.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, hold on. There's got to be more for that paladin that we haven't mentioned, because I mean,
Azrael.
Yeah. What's his name? Etrigan.
Etrigan.
Yeah, Etrigan.
I can definitely see Etrigan as a paladin.
He is a paladin for the demonic side, but it's not like a bad demon. It's just a demon. Gone now, this form of man. Arise, the demon Etrigan.
I mean, unless you really don't like speaking in rhyme, yeah, he's not that bad.
Yeah, that's the only. I think that's the biggest downside of Etrigan. Is it's the always having to speak in rhymes, but at the same time too, that's how you know that Etrigan is in the story. Whenever you've got Joe Schmo, just so happening the way that he speaks is always in rhymes. Like
Jason Blood.
Like who is this man? Because I mean, Jason Blood that's who he is, but he's not always named that in the comics. Like because there's so many else worlds where Etrigan is mentioned, and like the demon Etrigan is there. Like same idea with all of the ones that he possesses,
right?
But it's not always the blood. It's not always blood.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Etrigan would be good. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, because Paladin, it's a weird cross section, because like with D&D, the classes are usually broad enough to where you can kind of put your own flavor into it, so they're not always as hard lined. But this one I think can be fun. I already have some ideas for a ranger, a warrior who combats threats on the edges of civilization. Yeah, Aragorn would be a ranger. It's like your most stereotypical Lord of the Rings, like. I think he's literally a ranger in that world. But the one I was thinking of was the Green Arrow.
And which one was this again?
Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
Because Green Arrow, which everyone just calls him Discount Batman, which I think is completely missing the point of both of those characters.
He was only Discount Batman during the Green Arrow Arrowverse.
Right. Because in the universe, he is friends, like both Oliver Queen and Green Arrow are friends with Bruce Wayne and Batman. And they're both detective-y, but Green Arrow's a little bit more on that, like, he's almost more early Batman-y, where it's a lot more leaning on detectiveness and punching and getting through and, like, tracking. There's also the Huntress in the DC universe, which is literally a hunter, like a bounty hunter kind of thing, and she uses her martial adeptness, her training of, like, tracking people to get it, and that's kind of what rangers do. They're meant to, I'm in this environment, I know this environment well, I'm going to go live out in the woods and be the best hunter in the woods.
Yeah. Legolas,
yep.
Definitely the ranger. I mean, of course, Aragorn, like Tiny said. Green Arrow would definitely fit. Hawkeye, of course, is going to fit into that as well.
Hawkeye.
And if whatever the little one's name that was his trainee, Hawkette, or I can't remember her name.
I don't remember. I didn't watch that one.
She has a name. I'm not good.
That's how boring that series was.
Hey, Phase 4 Marvel, I was so excited whenever I was seeing all the stuff they were announcing, and Phase 4 Marvel has just been an absolute snooze fest.
I really followed Marvel all the way through Phase 1, all the way through Phase 2. I lost a little bit in early Phase 3, but once we got to I caught up once we got to do the Infinity Saga. And then after that, I really stopped caring because it was just the same show again. And it's not to say that it was bad, because like WandaVision was really good. Loki was really good.
Some of the television shows have been better than what the movies have been. Like Madam Web was not in actual MCU canon, so that's a Sony picture. So we don't have to include that in how garbage it was. But the Marvels, that's in canon for
The Eternals.
The Eternals was actually a lot better than what the majority of the stuff has been now.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I think they went too far. They started pumping out way too much.
Yeah,
but Rangers, because also to get back on the topic a little bit, because I know we never skew away from that. We're always like rocked on.
Hey, we're close enough,
right? Because
topic adjacent,
right? A lot of people think of Rangers and they automatically think bow and arrow, but that's not really like Rangers are. It's a specialized fighter of being able to be in the woods and tracking. It's a lot more into that realm of being able to know your environment and use your environment as like usefulness, like using it as a power. Because it is a little difficult to think about. Because like again, Batman would kind of be rangery, but we've said Batman for like 3 of these.
Okay, I'm back. I had a customer. What are we talking about now?
Oh, we're talking about Ranger class.
Ranger.
Yeah, Ranger class, like Red Ranger,
Green Arrow,
Green Ranger,
Yep, Green Arrow is definitely
Blue
a Ranger.
Ranger, Yellow Ranger, Pink Ranger.
Power Rangers.
Oh, the Power Rangers are Rangers?
Power Rangers.
Are they not Rangers just by the name alone?
I mean, I guess
I would almost.
I don't
venture
think
to
they
say
really-
that they're warlocks.
they'd be more artificery because they use
Well, they got their powers from Zordon, their patron.
their patron saint of Zordon. Holy be thy name.
Yeah, from the planet of Eldar.
Yeah. Also, I thought I had a burp. Sorry. So
Yeah, that looked like you were straining for a burp.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was there, and then I waited a second, and then it just kind of dissipated. It'll come back probably.
Yeah, because when it comes down to Ranger stuff, like Ranger is a good class to have within D&D, but as far as like the Ranger...
There it is.
There we go. Thanks.
I bet the audio for that one was great.
Oh, the smell was not great.
Well, that was just something I'm going to have to mark down that's spiked everything right there. All right.
We'll see it on the waveform.
No, we won't. All right. So what's next? What's our next one?
Rogue, a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles enemy. I think this would be more in your Robins and your Nightwings would be more roguey than Batman, because they're using a lot more stealthy, a lot more like trickery kind of thing.
I mean, it could be either way. I mean, it's all subjective, so it just depends how you want to color it and how you want them to do things. Mm-hmm. So they could really go either way.
Yeah, as far as like... Now, describe the rogue again one more time. Did you give the rogue?
Yes.
I'm sorry. The dog over here has been absolutely restless, and people coming in and out. So I was trying to get her resettled before she decided to take another leap of faith against something.
Oh Lord, yeah, I don't want her missiling herself into the side of the couch.
Yeah, that's what would come next.
I mean,
She was literally like lining herself up for the big jump again, but had no momentum like she did the first time.
Would I laugh? Probably.
I would.
But it would also hurt my heart a little.
Oh,
It
yeah, poor Millie.
hurts my heart when she hurts herself trying acrobatics because she's not as skilled as she thinks she is.
Oh, she is as nimble and agile as a 1984 Ford Econoline.
That's
It's
true.
like it's like more of a Geo Metro.
Oh, and also thank you, Patreon folks, for everybody that's joined our Patreon and dedicated some money each month to the Nerded to the Grapevine podcast. We highly appreciate that. It's a place where you can go, donate money, and get the episode before everybody else can, and you get it uncut.
And also, if we manage to get 40 Patreon members
50
to subscribe monthly, 40.
is 50.
No, this is something different.
Oh, okay. I'm not getting my grape tattoo on my butt for 40.
No.
It's 50.
For 40, we're getting Brolonics.
What is that?
Tiny-
That's where all of us go together and we get a colonic.
Tiny, if the Patreon ends up paying enough money for us to be able to get that done, we can. I'm not spending money on getting my
40?
insides drained.
Yeah,
40 Patreon members that has to be recurring for at least 3 months, I'm going to say.
Oh, that
Then we're all getting colonics together when it's called a Brolonic.
Do we have to hold hands?
We can. We don't have to.
I don't want to do that.
I'd
I'd rather
get to be able to. We're doing it because you committed us to waxing your butthole. I'm committing us to cleaning our buttholes.
Fine.
So I think originally I was reading their description of Rogue again, and then we got talking about buttholes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Rogues are buttholes.
a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles and enemies.
Man, that's
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook. I mean, just the
Peter Pan.
the scoundrel.
Yeah,
he's a
well, they do
scoundrel.
have swashbuckler
Absolutely.
as a new subclass with Rogue. Because again, this
also
is
be
a
a
very
fighter.
more like stealthy Batman-y because he does do the like using the shadows and using everything against them to get.
We have a customer.
Yes. Again, I just feel like we use Batman for this, but again, it's like because he.
Well, they have
there's
so
been
many
so
different.
many.
He has so many different character traits because without having a single superpower, since Tiny's not here to defend him, he has no superpowers. He is a horrible superhero, but he is a great character.
His superhero is he has a lot of money.
Yeah. So since Tiny's not here to defend it, Batman is an awful superhero, but he is a great character.
Right.
Okay. So, but he can be included in a lot of these. I mean, in the rogues, you can also take in like say Kitty from X-Men.
Yeah.
I think she'd be more rogue because she has the ability to slip in and out of walls.
Yep,
She
yep.
has the ability to kind of infiltrate the ways that you always would rely on your rogue to infiltrate. Like your rogue is going to be infiltrating, by lock picking and making entry into places that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get into. That would be her kind of way of doing so, I believe, by going into the places that other people can't go to because she can just walk through walls.
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, yes, that same teleportation back and forth, being able to be all sorts of places at the same time before you can
Right.
blink.
Well, I mean that scene in X-Men 2.
Yeah,
Where
he was
he-
in two.
Yeah, like the one really great scene in that movie.
What, the church? Where they first discover him?
When he's going through the White House. There's that X3.
Oh, that one. I think that might have been either X2 or X3. I can't
Okay.
remember.
Either way, I remember it was one of those. It was like that was one of the few good scenes in the movie. But that scene right there is literally him using disengage and sneak attack because he is hitting you and getting away before you have time to turn around and be like, "Wait, why did I just get stabbed?" Kind
Who
of
are
thing.
we talking about?
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, we're talking about Rogue.
Yeah. Batman could also be a rogue.
We talked about that
Yeah.
while you were gone.
Gotta
We
be
had
fast.
we had a bunch of Batman conversation while you were away from the
well,
microphone, so you can
That
hear
hurts.
you can hear it later in the episode.
That hurts me, but maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised as long as you didn't say something bad.
Yeah, well, you'll be
Oh,
greatly
yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, very surprised.
Okay.
So I think that covers it for rogues because rogues can be about any of them that have some sneak and has that like lockpicky room entry infiltration kind of thing to them, like a lot of that. All right, I think we've got time to accomplish like two more.
We could speedball through the
Okay.
last couple.
So the last three actually are very similar. It's just how they get their flavor because it's a sorcerer, a warlock, and a wizard. So sorcerers are spellcasters who draw their inherent magic through gifts of the bloodline. So think like,
Basically, you're born with it.
yeah,
Maybe it's Maybelline.
you have it or you don't. And then a warlock is again a magic user, but they get theirs more through. We've kind of told a warlock through the last bit, but warlock is more of a like, I get my power through a deal with the devil or like a deal with a deity.
Deal with a celestial entity.
Dr. Fate.
Yeah, like
Dr. Fate would be a good one for a warlock.
Technically, Shazam could be as well.
Maybe
Because he had to like go to the Grand Wizard or whatever.
but warlocks are usually a little bit more.
Well, that's
I don't remember exactly. Okay,
That's the KKK has
Well, no,
nothing
no,
to
no,
do
that's
with
Grand
where
Dragon.
Shazam gets. Oh, okay, sorry.
no. Well, like in the movie, because that's my only basis of Shazam knowledge. He like finds this place and he talks to this dude.
Oh,
and
the Rock of
these-
Eternity.
Yeah, and he
That's-
talks to this
that's-
dude in these robes and he looks like a wizard.
Yeah,
And he's like, do this test and then you get powers. And
Yeah.
so he does the damn thing and then he gets powers.
yeah, and that wizard's name is Shazam, and that's therefore his power source. He says the word, he gets the powers granted to him again every time.
Yeah, so I mean, couldn't that be construed as a warlock?
Possibly.
Yeah.
The sorcerer having the power in their bloodline, that's going to be Zatanna.
Yeah.
Zatanna would be another one because of her father having the same kind of magic that she does, which her magic is pretty cool. The way she casts magic is she just says what she wants the magic to do in reverse. Like, not like an inverse, like an opposite, like literally spin the record backwards, and she has to talk that way to cast like the spell. So you'd have to cast it backwards, saying like, yeah, we actually did it one time. Dane and me were watching this animated movie that Zatanna was one of the main focuses, and like she's having this big, powerful spell, and she's just chanting, and we're like, that sounds like words but different. So then we took the playback and we reversed it, and it was literally she was, and this was a kid's cartoon, like it was rated like TV 14. And she was saying, like, you spin it backwards to hear what she's saying frontwards like that. And it's saying, like, I unleash all the powers of hell. I call upon the forces of darkness that reside within. Like, all this crazy stuff that was just been said backwards.
So, much like this podcast, if you play it in reverse, Dane will come back?
Yes.
At least vocally?
Yes. If you play it in reverse, you can hear Dane saying, Tiny, stop whispering.
I haven't whispered one single time this time.
You can hear Dane saying, Tiny, stop whispering!
Okay, how about this? I'm not whispering anymore.
Good job.
Oh gosh.
All right. So all three of those are all
That
kind of
was
the same.
almost as loud as Auto Talks.
Hey. I don't even choose to talk this loud. That's just how my voice is.
I didn't say you chose.
Right. This last one I have some for is the Wizard. It's basically a magic user that derives his power from learning how to use the spells and using artifacts and using like just his knowledge. Constantine and Doctor Strange.
Yes.
They are literally my magic just comes through. I know what I'm doing. I know which artifacts and which buttons to push and which words to say. I know more than you. I can do this.
And even though Doctor Strange is the sorcerer supreme in the D&D world, he would be the wizard supreme.
Would Dr. Fate also fall into that?
He might, just because of that helmet, but that helmet is where he sources all of his power from, and it is a cosmic deity inside of that helmet that is controlling all of the power that you're now given because you were a slave to the helmet.
Yeah, he's definitely
So
more
I just know that Dr. Fate exists, and he was almost like a DC Doctor Strange. Okay, don't come for me.
No, I'm not trying. You can't tell me what to do.
I just did.
And I'm fine. I don't want to change these pants anyway.
This is my shop today.
So
I am the captain now.
So yeah, Dr. Fate could fit if it wasn't for the that warlock caveat of having to have your power drawn from like your master kind of deal.
What if he identified as a wizard?
I don't think we could say much against him because he is more powerful than we are.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he could
also a very cool looking outfit.
I think Dr. Fate was probably the best part of the Black Adam movie.
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight?
Warlock.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It just hit me like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah, because of Khonshu. Khonshu giving him all these different abilities and powers. Juggernaut. Is that a warlock too?
Kinda.
Or would he be more like a fighter?
He's kind of a multi-class.
Also,
strength magic only.
Yeah, pretty much. I cast punch.
Right. You may want to, because if you have time. Do you know the Juggernaut lore off the top of your head? Because I remember hearing this and thinking that's not what I thought that was. Because Juggernaut is in the X-Men universe, but he's not a mutant.
You know where you heard the Juggernaut lore?
Heard it on this podcast.
You heard it on this podcast.
I did hear it on this
through the Grapevine.
Listen, I have herbalized a lot in my past.
We're four best friends gather together weekly to talk about past, present, and future nerd culture.
Well, I was also watching another video on the X-Men and the current X-Men thing, so my wires got crossed a little bit.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, wrapping it all up, I think that, you can take these character descriptions and try to better understand where your characters in D&D are going to fall based off of your preconceived characters you've come in contact with over the years in comic books and in movies and everything else along those lines that we've mentioned. So maybe that'll give you a little bit of a better grasp on how you can make your characters and why whenever you decide to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not saying that you have to play Dungeons and Dragons, but But it is fun, and a lot of people are really curious about getting into it. They just don't know what to do. Character classes are confusing. Honestly, just take our guidelines that we've given you this episode, try to base your characters a little bit off of what we've mentioned if you're just doing those base classes. And, the subclasses, we don't need to talk about those.
Well, hold on. You forgot about the I would say the most important class in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, and that is God, the Almighty DM.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's you. Also,
That's me.
that's Tiny.
That's me.
Yep.
Tiny's always
Always
the
the
DM.
DM.
He's the token DM.
You have to find a friend that is willing to sacrifice all of the
I just
fun.
want a buddy that would like to do it sometime.
Yeah,
Right.
And that means from the quiz episode. That's just be a DM. Somebody be a DM besides Tiny, so he can
If
enjoy.
none
playing.
of these other things sound appealing, just be God. You can be all of them.
Well,
Right.
if anybody wants to play some Dungeons and Dragons, you have the idea of what to do with your characters now, and you also have the opportunity to be the DM because Tiny doesn't want to every time. So I have a question that I'd like to present to you folks.
No.
Us folks or them folks?
Doesn't matter. This is a microphone. If the founding fathers were to give you grapes,
I'd rinse off the powder.
Wonder where they got them from, because I don't think there were grapes in the Americas yet.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure grapes were in. I'm pretty sure they were.
The correct
But I would dust off the powder from their wigs off the grapes before I consumed them.
the correct answer would be you'd reach for the grape, they'd see your tattoos, and instantly try to kill you.
I mean, that's probably accurate.
Except for George, he might see my Freemason tattoo and try to ask me old school Freemason questions.
I feel like of all the founding fathers, Big Georgie Wash, I'm pretty sure he had a tattoo.
I bet he did.
Probably.
And he would probably just not talk about it, as opposed to trying to just divert and just not tell you the truth about the tattoo, because he would not talk about it rather than lie about it, because George
sure
Washington
he
could
didn't
not
lie.
he could not tell a lie.
And I'm pretty sure it was like a back of the head skull tat.
All right, everybody, we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.